For the title screen, I used a simple trigger that takes the user to the next slide, which is very simple. You can see it here. So we'll just bypass that for the moment and go on to the second screen. In the second screen, we can see the main menu, and this is built using basically hotspots, slide triggers, object triggers, and slide layers. I used a rectangle hotspot for each menu item, and for each hotspot I created an object trigger that takes the user to what I call a transition layer. Now, I'm calling it a transition layer because once it opens and the timeline completes, the layer will automatically disappear and a second layer opens. And it's this second layer that includes the actual video for the user to view. So let's break this down into its smaller parts. So here we have the hotspot for channel 1. We can see that when the user clicks it, it's set to show layer, in this case the channel 1 select avocado transition layer. And in this layer, what we see is really the only thing that's changing is the finger and the remote control. And what happens is this is set to basically 3 seconds. I've actually added the scrambled signal. So you can see I have a trigger here that says play this media. And because it's only 3 seconds, it's going to play it and for just that 3 seconds, and we'll move on to the next layer. And when the timeline ends, you'll see that this transition layer takes us to the actual layer where the video is shown to the user. Now, for the actual video, I actually inserted the video, and I set a poster frame, which is just creating a starting image there to control what you see. Without that, it will be the first frame of the video. So once you watch that particular video, I've created a object trigger here to hide the layer and take you back to the main menu. Okay. So the thing I want to point out here that's kind of interesting is that for each of the hotspots takes you to a transition layer, and again, the only thing that's changing, if you'll watch, is the finger is changing the channel on the remote. And you'll see it set to about 3 seconds before it transitions to the other screen. The other thing I want to point out here is we go back to the main menu. You also see I have the same scrambled television signal, which again is an MP4 video file. But I've added 2 triggers because I think the user will stay on this slide longer. And what you'll see is I have a trigger here set to play the media, in this case the scramble.mp4 file, when the timeline starts, and I've set the object to the actual slide here. I've added a second trigger to make sure that it loops. In this case, it'll be play the media. In this case, it's the same MP4 file. When it completes, to display it again, and it will continuously loop on this slide. So if the learner stays on this slide looking at the different options to pick from, it's not going to eventually turn into just a static image. And so that's why I created the looping for that particular thing. So I hope you enjoyed this and it makes some sense. If you got any questions, please let me know. Thank you.